Years ago, on March 19, 2003, President Bush announced the start of military action in Iraq, Operation Iraqi Freedom. Up next, his 5-minute address from the Oval Office.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
In contrast, Russian elections are rigged. Political opponents are imprisoned or otherwise eliminated from participating in the electoral process. The result is an absence of checks and balances in Russia and the decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of of Ukraine. Iraq.
To what extent has Vladimir Putin been weakened by recent events? It's hard to tell, but he's clearly losing the war in Iraq. He's losing the war at home. And he has become a bit of a pariah around the world. It's not just NATO. It's not just the European Union. It's Japan.
Hey, people. Happy New Year. January 6, 2024. Well, as far as I know, nobody's invaded the Capitol yet, though I think some resistance is existent on the planet to some of the, put it lightly, to this horrendous mess of control of our planet by it's been going on for hundreds and hundreds of years. The people who become in control are the ones who are usually good at knowing how to exercise violence in a civilized manner that is, it's somehow based on always some pious excuses about some horrible enemy, either potentially or in existence. So George Bush Jr., President of the United States, year 2000 to 2008, the invasion of Iraq, the invasion of Afghanistan. You young people who think you know something about American history or plan to vote for anybody, you should at least know a little bit about that. According to Wikipedia, classified U.S. documents revealed by the WikiLeaks that from October 2010 recorded that 109,000 deaths between January 2004 and December 2009. Civilian deaths, 66,081. Host nation deaths, 15,196. Don't ask me what the host nation deaths signify, because then we have the enemy deaths at 23,984, and friendly deaths, I guess that would be coalition forces, 3,771. The only question there is, what is a civilian death? 66,000. Host nation, 15. Enemy. So who were host nation? Were they not civilians, but they weren't the enemy? I have no idea. Anyways, 110,000 people died on that invasion. All right, let's just jump into the conversation. Unknown man. I did not fact check his assertions. I don't feel it's that material. I'm going to follow up after his talk with some corroborating evidence from Israeli newspapers, and so be it. Okay, this is what we get, and all right, and a happy New Year, and we're okay, us humans, somehow. We're going to work our way through all this.
Shalom. I want you to know before I start the video that what I'm about to say is very controversial. So if you don't have an open mind about what's going on in Israel right now, and you don't want to hear something that might rattle your preconceived notions a little bit, I suggest you turn off this video right now. Oh, wait. Okay, if you're still with me, that shows that you're open to listening to some facts and a timeline that points to a very disturbing conclusion. This isn't a video I want to make, and it's something that pains me. I had a lot of inner dilemmas whether or not I should do this video, but I feel like nowadays truth and transparency is so important that I feel I should share it with you. So we're all trying to make sense of what happened on October 7th, which is Shmini Atzeret. Some call it Simchat Torah, when we all know Gazans came in and basically slaughtered 1,000 Israelis and kidnapped a bunch, all in the matter of about 7 hours. So what I want to do is reverse engineer this thing a little bit to kind of help you understand why I believe that this was an inside job. First of all, we'll start with September 1st. By the way, everything I'm about to say will be backed up with actual links to news articles or video footage. And if you want any of my sources, I'm happy to give them. September 1st, the Israeli government confiscated the weapons of the security teams in the Gaza Belt communities. This was done against the will of those security teams in the Gaza Belt communities. Why that happened, nobody knows. Fast forward to September 10th. On September 10th, the Moatzah, which is basically the municipalities of the Gaza Belt communities, received reports, these are civilians, received reports of increased tensions on the border of Gaza during the Jewish holidays, which of course span from Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Shmini Atzeret, which was on Saturday. Those same heads of municipalities asked the army if they should cancel their festivities in light of the warnings of increased tensions on the border of Gaza. And what did the army say? They said, no, don't cancel anything. It appears as though we're heading into a state of calm. By the way, all links I will share as soon as I have a chance to comment on this. Now, you can assume that the Shabak did not know about this attack, but that's highly improbable. I mean, Israel is probably the most advanced surveillance state in the world, and the Gaza border is probably the most heavily surveilled, and the Shabak, who somehow knew about a guy who had corona in a toy store and tracked him all the way to a soccer stadium during the days of corona, somehow didn't know about this massive attack planned by thousands of random Gazans on pickup trucks and hang gliders. Are you serious? Are you really that stupid? Do you really believe that? Because if you do, I have a bridge to sell you. Anyways, so then there's the theory that they're called in Hebrew Tatzpitanot, which is basically the command and control center. These are the people, mostly females, who's tasked with observing the Gaza border fence. They say there's a theory that says that they were hacked, or that they conquered or that they blew it up before they could. They blew up the equipment that surveilled. Well, that's BS, because there's actual video footage that I'll also share with you of those same command control center operators reporting on the breach of the fence. The fence was breached in 15 different locations, and you want to tell me that the most highly advanced surveillance equipment on arguably any border in the world didn't pick that up, didn't report it? Well, they did, and it's documented. So don't believe that lie. Now, once thousands of Gazans on pickup trucks and hang gliders invaded Israel, which apparently nobody knew about, right? Okay, you believe that? Which apparently no one knew about. They had 7 hours to kill everyone in their path, completely destroy kibbutzim. Not only that, take hostages back to Gaza, unscathed, unopposed. Now, there are people who say, well, a bunch of battalions were moved from Gaza over to Judea and Samaria. First of all, that's BS. Second of all, okay, so what if they did? Do you know how long it takes an attack helicopter to get activated and blow up any one of those tractors or pickup trucks or hang gliders that invaded Israel? Less than 5 minutes. And I know all these things firsthand because I served on the Gaza border. Less than 5 minutes. It all could have been over. From 7:01 a.m. on October, 6th or 7th, on Saturday, I believe it was October 7th, it could have been it could have been a matter of 5 minutes before the whole thing was upended. And instead they had 7 hours, possibly 8, to conquer kibbutzim, kill thousands, and bring back hostages alive, unopposed. And there's many people that say, oh, well, this was just a breach. No, that's not a breach. I'm sorry, that's not a fucking breach. That's an inside job. And if it's not an inside job, well, then that's even worse. Because that means that the IDF is the most incompetent military that ever walked the face of the earth. And now we're supposed to trust these people to invade Gaza? They're calling up thousands of reservists to invade Gaza under the command of a military that A, didn't see this coming, and B, is too incompetent to react to a bunch of pickup trucks with AK-47s invading Israel? You tell me which outcome is worse. What's worse? That it was an inside job, or that the Israeli army is really this incompetent? Which one is scarier? You tell me. You tell me if you trust this same military to send in thousands of incredible Jewish souls dying to fight for this land into Gaza. And no matter how high their morale is, and it's high, and these are brave warriors, but none of it matters if the people calling the shots are the same people who allowed the Gaza militia to invade Israel's borders, kill thousands, take back hostages completely unopposed. Like I said, this is not a video I wanted to do. This is not something, and oh, by the way, now America is coming with aid? Do you really think Israel needs American aid to fight Gaza? Gaza! Their most elite force, their air force is hang gliders, and their ground troops are pickup trucks. They don't even have a tank. And we need American aid Israel needs American aid to fight them? Are you fucking serious? You don't think that there's anything fishy going on here? You really trust the IDF to send in all these reservists into Gaza, the same people who A, didn't see this coming, or the alternative, which is much worse, they're so incompetent they can't even handle a couple of pickup trucks and hang gliders invading their border, killing thousands and taking hostages for 7 hours, practically unopposed, and able to go back.
So, yeah, and I thank that gentleman again for getting the courage to share his words. I don't know about all of his assertions, but there's way too much for anybody to think that the government of Israel somehow sits in a bubble of being on behalf of justice, or let's just break it down this way. The gentleman says either Israel is the most incompetent military in the world, and we've been sending like, I think, 100 and some odd billion over the life of Israel. I think it's only like 3 or 4 billion a year military aid, just U.S. taxpayer money supporting Israel. So we support the most incompetent military in the world, or one that is extraordinarily devious, enough to even sacrifice its own citizens on behalf of some greater goal of basically eliminating Palestinians completely from this greater territory that these people, Netanyahu and his cronies and the far right wing of the settlers in Israel support. And I think they need to be stopped. They need to be held up to a higher civilized standard. Anyways, a woman writing for the Times of Israel, a publication in Israel, I suspect she is an Israeli. Her name is Tal Schneider. It's an opinion piece. Has written, for years Netanyahu propped up Hamas. Now it's blown up in our faces. The premier's policy of treating the terror group as a partner at the expense of Abbas and Palestinian statehood has resulted in wounds that will take Israel years to heal from. That's what she says. That was from the Times of Israel. No, maybe that was from the Jerusalem Post. Anyways, I'm confused. This one might be the Times of Israel. Intelligence commanders ignored soldiers' warnings. Hamas was simulating a major invasion, reports. That was from November 23rd. And then you have the giant New York Times story that came out on, is that December 6th? Or right about there. I'm not sure what date it came out. Israel knew Hamas's attack plan more than a year ago. They knew. A blueprint reviewed by the Times laid out the attack in detail. Israel officials dismissed it as aspirational and ignored specific warnings. This is the story from Israel. Several Hebrew media outlets report, not one, several Hebrew media outlets report that an experienced intelligence soldier reported early this year that the Hamas terror group had held a large-scale drill simulating a scenario in which Israeli communities are stormed, etc., 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 but that her concerns were dismissed by superiors. Not only they dismissed her concerns, but these commanders in Israel already had this report. One of the most important objectives outlined in the document was to overrun the Israeli military base in Rim, which is home to the Gaza division. Other bases that fell under the division's command were also listed. According to officials, the audacity of the blueprint made it easier to underestimate. All militaries write plans that they never use, and Israeli officials assess that even if Hamas invaded, it might muster a force of a few dozen. Give you a break. Let's wait patiently. And then there's another report that these people who are warning the commanders who already had this plan in their possession and already discussed it, they threatened them with a court-martial. See if I can find that. The document was circulated widely among Israeli military and intelligence leaders. but experts determined that an attack of that scale and ambition was beyond Hamas's capabilities. So the question is, if this document was circulated widely among Israeli military commanders, and these commanders in Gaza were seeing these reports in the months preceding this and threatened court-martial if the people didn't stop bothering them, then it's virtual proof. Seems to me it's proof that something was deeply, fishy isn't the word, 169,500 active personnel, that's Israel's military, 169,500 active personnel, 43 Apache attack helicopters, F-16s, F-15s, 142 helicopters total, tanks 2,200, etc., etc. 7 hours, as he was saying, this went on, and distance between Jerusalem and Gaza, it's like 40 miles or something. Tel Aviv and Gaza, 35, 40 miles. Unbelievable. How could they not have scrambled a helicopter? And there's, if you go look up on Google and try to find that timeline of October 7th and who was dealing with what, I don't know. Let me know if you can find it, because I can't find anybody who's done the research of what happened that day and put it and made a story about it. And what are we up to in the deaths of the Gazans right now? Something like 20,000? Unbelievable, huh? Hi there, people. All right, to get this out of my system. So Leon Panetta was appointed head of the CIA. He was a former representative in Congress, I believe. Maybe he was I can't even remember. From Monterey, Californian guy. I think he's still alive. All right, so the picture of this guy, Meir Dagan, Israel's legendary former director of the Mossad. I once asked him how he would deal with Al-Qaeda. His answer, quote, kill them. He said a little more than I would kill them, or just his answer, kill them. This is Leon Panetta's words. That first dinner with Israel's military and intelligence leadership was notable for its level of shared trust and even intimacy. On top of that, one moment in particular drove home to me the stakes of these conversations and the seriousness of my Israeli counterparts. It occurred late in the evening. After the conversation had drifted away from Iran, I used the opening to ask Meir for some advice. Look, I said, we're dealing every day with Al-Qaeda. What would you do? He didn't hesitate. I'd kill them, he said. And then I'd kill their families. One of his aides gently interjected, sensing how impolitic that was. You can't do that, he began. Why not? Dagan asked. Panetta says, I don't know whether he was serious, but I wouldn't want to be the one to doubt him. Or, in fact, that's been the policy for a long time. And then how do you differentiate between who are your enemies and who aren't your enemies? We get to President Obama. This is a great book, a reference book. If you're an Obama admirer, you might want to read this. Written by Bill Press, the left-wing commentator. Bernie Sanders says, Bill Press makes the case. Read this book. Who's Bernie Sanders? Well, so He's talking about Leon Panetta, the CIA, drones, and things like that. August 2009. For example, CIA Director Leon Panetta informed the president they had an opportunity to take out Baitullah Masood, leader of the Pakistani Taliban. Not the Al-Qaeda, but the Taliban is looked upon as pretty evil. Of course, if you look in history, kids or adults, you will find that the Taliban really was almost created by the CIA to help overthrow the Russian occupation of Afghanistan. But they were indeed a very fundamentalist group, willing to use, all kinds of violence, but that was perfect for our purposes. So he had the opportunity to take out the leader of the Pakistani Taliban. Doing so, however, meant the near certainty of innocent civilians being killed also, because he was with his wife at a family gathering at his in-laws' home. Nevertheless, Obama gave the order. Masood was killed along with his wife and possibly other family members. According to a report by the human rights group Reprieve, that was the 7th attempt to kill Masood by drone. All 7 together resulted in 164 deaths. So kids, again, you forget, you grew up just a short time ago, you're just starting to think maybe I'm supposed to learn about history too somehow, or read the newspapers. I mean, I don't know, I can hardly blame you for not. But then if you do get an opinion about something based on everybody else, occasionally you should penetrate, because sometimes everybody else doesn't know either. They all think they know. Despite Obama's oft-repeated pledge to lead, quote, the most transparent administration history, and despite congressional pressure to issue an annual update, the Obama administration has steadfastly refused to divulge the number of people killed each year by drones, their identities, the number of civilian casualties, or the legal rationale behind each strike. So estimates vary. In a 2013 study, the United Nations reported 2,200 killed in Pakistan by drone strikes, including 400 civilians. On January 23, 2014, the 5th anniversary of the first drone strike under President Obama, the Bureau of Investigative Journalism reported that at least 2,400 people had been killed by drones under Obama. In Pakistan alone, they concluded between 416 and 951 civilians have been killed, including 168 to 200 children. Amnesty International, in its 2013 report, estimated 900 civilians have been killed by drones. As reported by the New York Times and other publications, for some time, Obama met with his national security team every Tuesday in the Situation Room on what aides in the White House dubbed Terror Tuesday, to review and approve nominations for drone attacks.